What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video. And in today's video, I am doing a review of The Bride, the new 2026 Maggie Gyllenhaal film. I have now seen this twice. Saw it twice in theaters. Saw it last night, and I saw it today. And I have some thoughts. I also have some thoughts of other people's thoughts, like usual. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this review. All right, so starting off with, I think the things that I really liked and enjoyed most about this movie is the performances and the style, the overall art style, the cinematography of the film. I think those two were by far the strongest things. First of all, the art style of the movie. This movie is fucking gorgeous, man. Absolutely beautiful. It's some of the most beautiful cinematography I've ever seen in a film. It is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. So many beautiful shots and so many callbacks to a classic Frankenstein stories and movies and shows. And one of the scenes that really pops into mind is when they're digging up the bride in the beginning. And it's a beautiful shot that starts from the bottom and it pans up. But when you first start in the scene, you just see bats everywhere and thunder's going. And it's a very just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's very just classic Universal monster scene. And it's beautiful. And then it pans down to them digging up the girl. And it's just an absolutely beautiful scene. Love that. Great shots of them in New York, walking around and seeing the big city lights and scale, all the buildings lit up. Beautiful. Beautiful shots in Chicago, and just so many great shots in this movie. I love it. Beautiful. It has a very grungy style to it, very Rob Zombie-esque. But the main thing, I can really say for is raunchy. It's a very raunchy style. It's very dark, depressing. It's very Joker-esque. This movie takes a lot of inspiration from the Joker duology, to being Joker and the Joker Folie à Deux. A lot of influence, you can tell. Not even just in the overall style, in the story, in the characters, a lot, you'll say. Or I'll explain it. But yeah, had a very Joker feel to it, though, as well, with the style. And, so many scenes, like, just lit up in very deep yellow colors, very similar to Joker. The way some of the camera movements were similar to Joker. I felt like this movie was directed similarly. She had just a very similar directing style to Todd Phillips, I felt. But yeah, just a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. The Rob Zombie stuff kind of really made me feel was with like the black and white segments that we got, like her head in the jar near or towards the in the middle of the film, and then, all the black and white shots of her kind of her alternate personality. Very Rob Zombie-esque stuff there. And so yeah, I really dug the style of this. I think that, to be honest with you, as much as I really enjoyed it, I think that's going to be the major dividing factor of the film. I think that's the thing people are going to be most divided on is the overall style of the movie. I think it's going to take some getting used to, and I think it's going to ruffle some feathers. I also think it's kind of an acquired taste that's most people aren't going to be into. But I was into it. I liked it a lot. It worked for me on every level. It's just, yeah, there's no other way to put it. Gorgeous movie. Next, we have to talk about the performances from Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale. Holy shit, these two turned in some phenomenal performances. I'll talk about Christian first, because I don't really know too much about Jessie Buckley, but when it comes to Christian, man, he is the GOAT to me. He is the greatest actor of all time, in my opinion. His filmography is just insane to me. The Batman Begins and The Dark Knight are the two greatest movies ever made, in my personal opinion. He's done so many great films. The Dark Knight trilogy, in my opinion, is the greatest trilogy. He's done Prestige for Christopher Nolan. He did The Machinist, right? American Psycho. Ford vs. Ferrari. All fantastic movies he's done. So many more. He's just the actor, in my opinion. Right? You're not getting any better than him, to me. Having said that, I think he turned in a fantastic performance. I really did. I think he did a good job. This version of Frankenstein is a little different than your average typical Frankenstein. He's more he's definitely more world weary. He's just pretty much a normal type of guy when it comes to knowing stuff. He's not really slow in any type of way. I mean, he's definitely a bit slow when it comes to his um, interactions with people. You know, you can tell he's very introverted. You know, he lacks that a little bit. But when it comes to just being, just lacking talent, just like he knows how to talk full sentences and everything, he has no trouble speaking or anything. You know, the only really, again, slower thing about him is just he's not very out there. He's just, again, more introverted. Um, and he just kind of keeps to himself. So in terms of that, like his performance is good, but it's only as good as the character allows it to be, if that makes sense. You know, there's not really a whole much to this character. He's just kind of this goofy, again, introverted brute, who has kind of a kind-hearted soul to him. But as the movie progresses, he starts to get, again, very similar to Joker here. He starts to become worse, and he kind of turns into this actual monster by the end. Again, that's to me just like Joker. You start off the film with Arthur Fleck. He's this nice guy, and then by the end of the movie, he's the Joker, right? Kind of the same premise here. And again, very much like Joker, he looks up to this very famous figure in Jake Gyllenhaal's character. I forget the character's name. Again, similar how in Joker, Arthur looked up to Murray Franklin, Robert De Niro's character. Very similar. And, he's kind of, again, another similarity here, just like in Joker, they're both kind of rejected by the world. People don't like them. They want to stay away from them. They're both being rejected by the world. And again, it drives them to look at this figure that everybody accepts in the world. Everybody loves and everybody accepts. And that's, kind of what drives him to madness. So yeah, I think he does a good job. But I gotta say, I think Jessie Buckley really ran away with this movie. I think her performance outdid Christian Bale's. And again, that's not saying it's because of the fact that the bride is a more in-depth character in this movie. It's more deeper. There's more to it than Frankenstein. Frankenstein's more of a one-note type of character. He's not exactly one note, but there's not as many layers to him as there is the bride. And I think Jessie Buckley turned it up in fantastic performance. First of all, she's almost playing two different characters here. She's playing the bride, and then she's playing her alternate personality. Because she has like this alternate personality disorder, Tourette syndrome type thing, where throughout the course of the movie, every so often, all of a sudden, she'll just have these tics and these Tourette moments where she's just yelling out these words, but in a different accent. And she's just saying a bunch of those random garble, which gets confusing at times. I gotta admit, on the first watch, I was like, it was so much to keep up with because she just murmurs out random bullshit. But she just does such a good job at playing this clearly dysfunctional psycho, and she's just out of her mind in this movie. She is nuts. How she had the energy to do all the shit she does in this movie is beyond me. Just so many freaking different scenes, just fucking dancing, running around, yelling, banging, screaming. This looked like the most tiring role ever. She just puts her all into it, and she does a great job. She's fantastic. I was very impressed. I'm not familiar with any of her work. I know she was in, I forget what the movie was last year she was in. I know she was in a big movie last year. I don't remember if it was Begonia or what it was, but I know she was in a big movie last year. I'm not familiar with her until this movie, but again, she really took me by surprise, and again, I think her performance outdid Bale's, mainly because of how the character is. But so yeah, those two were without a doubt a huge standout of the film. Now, when it comes to the story, this is the thing I heard the most complaining about. I don't hate the story. I think the story is decent, but essentially the story is, Jessie Buckley's character, the bride, she was a informant who worked for this detective who had her infiltrate the mob by posing as a hooker. And she, in the movie, the way it happens, it's still kind of confusing. She kind of has an episode with this split personality thing, where she starts mouthing off all this bullshit that the main mob boss has done. It was the president of Bravia from Superman, that guy. He's the main mob boss in this movie, and she starts just blabbering out all the shit that he's done. He's a pedophile, and he's killed all these young women, cut their tongues out, and she's witnessed all this shit. and she has slept with this detective who had her in this case, and she doesn't shut her mouth, and she's on the stairwell, and she gets pushed down by one of the guys, which I still think was accidental. They never really say. It looks accidental in the movie, but I don't know if it was on purpose or not. And she breaks her neck, she breaks her leg, she's dead. Come to, you got Frankenstein. He wants a bride. He goes to the doctor Euphorius. It's a really weird name, very weird name. And he goes to her. He says, "I want a bride. I need your help. Find a corpse, bring her back to life." She's resistant at first, but very quickly she agrees. They bring her back to life, and off to the races from there, man. It just becomes a movie where they just start going on these. They go to a bar, then they kill these two guys who were trying to rape her. Then they're off to New York, and they're just going all over. It becomes this big road trip movie. But as the story goes on, you kind of get three segments of storytelling. You get the first part, which is the opening. You get in the middle, in the ballroom scene, where she's holding everybody at gunpoint. She starts naming off the girls that the mob boss killed. Then you start to figure out a little more there, and you realize that she has a relationship with this detective. In the middle of the movie is when you start to figure out that relationship was there, and that her real name is Ida, and that she and the Frankenstein's been lying to her this whole time. He's saying that they've been together already, and he knew her. He never met her before in his life. And she starts to figure out more about herself. And it's almost like a twisted coming-of-age story where she's trying to figure out who she is, and she's confused. She thinks she's one person, but people are telling her she's another. She thinks she's the bride, now the people are telling her she's Ida. Frankenstein is telling her she's Penny, or Penelope Rogers, I think he calls her. And so it's, again, this twisted coming-of-age story, and then by the end you figure out the whole story, that, again, she was with the detective, and she was part of the mob. She was infiltrating the mob. She was a hooker, sleeping with all these guys, and she found out the sick shit that they've been doing. And that's that. And then that's the story. And I actually thought that was an interesting way. I wasn't the biggest fan of how they presented it, kind of in three chunks. And then in between is just utter chaos. But it wasn't, by any means, wasn't bad. Another thing I felt the movie was lacking a little bit. I wish they would have spent more time focusing on their relationship, the bride and Frankenstein, make it feel a little bit more organic. It kind of just, everything happens really quickly. The movie never really takes its time to slow down. And I wish they would have done caused a bit more trouble, a little more chaos. Maybe it would have been nice to, see them like rob a bank or something, just do something really crazy. But, overall, though, I still dug the story. I thought it was good for the most part. And I enjoyed it, As for the ending, I liked the route they took for the ending. I liked having Frankenstein and her both get killed. Again, this movie is literally what Joker Folie à Deux should have been. I've been saying this since before the movie came out. I said, by the trailers, it looks like this is what Joker 2 should have been. And it is. Obviously with some different stuff, obviously they would have met in the asylum, then they would have went on this whole Bonnie and Clyde rampaging thing. And over the course of the movie, we should have found out more about her backstory. Like this is literally how Joker 2 should have been. And it should have ended with them both dying. And that's what happens here, with a little twist, which is definitely setting up a sequel. At the end, after they get killed, they're in the lab with Dr. Euphorius, or again, I can't remember her name. They get killed by the police, or she gets killed by the police after he gets shot in the head earlier on in the film. And they fall onto her table. And the detective, the female detective, lets her do her experiments on them to bring them back. In the final shot of the movie, you see the tower lighting up and the lightning coming in, and their hands start to move, and they grab each other's hands, and that's it. Perfectly sets up a sequel. To me, it's just a fantastic ending. I thought it was a great way to end it. I really did. I just dug the shit out of that ending. I thought it was probably the best way you could have ended the film. They had to have both been killed. And then, again, you can tease them coming back later. So there probably will be a sequel, and if so, I'm there for it, man. I really did. I enjoyed this movie. I wouldn't call it a great movie. I think it's a really good movie. I have it at 4 stars on Letterboxd. And, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, I am going to be putting my Letterboxd in the description of this video, so you guys can check out my movie reviews. I forgot to do that. I was going to do that in one of the last videos, but have a good day, guys. We'll see you later.